Hello and welcome back to this semester's episode season of Good Evening KU. I'm Steph Manchin.
And I'm Ryan Atchison. And, well, Steph, it's been crazy. It feels like this week has just started.
Yes. This semester has really flown by. Spring break is in 2 weeks, which is wild. I feel like these last 5 weeks have gone by in an instant. So that'll be interesting to get into spring break and then come back and just dive right back into the semester.
So this is actually my first time ever being on a show here at KU.
Yes.
So what's it kind of like knowing that you've had experience?
So last semester I was on Playmakers and we talked all about sports, and it was interesting. We reported on KU sports and we even had a segment talking about international sports, which was interesting to give a different perspective. We also talked about professional sports, which was cool. Yeah, shows are interesting. You get to give the people what they want to know and update everyone on what's going on, so it's pretty cool.
For sure. I'm definitely excited to get involved with sports shows and everything here at KU. Now, how about this weather, though? Like, it was snowing last night, wasn't it?
And then the week before that, it was 50s. Kansas can't make up its mind, I guess. I don't know what's
crazy.
going on.
It's supposed to get like 50s or so, 55 on Saturday, so it's like going off and on. I'm hoping for a warmer spring. I'm kind of tired of the winter.
I'm pretty sure the groundhog saw a shadow, so I don't know what this is about. But this weekend at KU, we have our game against Baylor. Hopefully the biggest game of the season. What did you say? We're at an 11-game streak?
Yeah, 11-game win streak. They haven't lost since the Baylor game here at KU. It's going to be number 1 versus number 3. Pretty much going to be the winner of the Big 12 is going to come down to this game right here, as Baylor's undefeated and Kansas has 1 loss in the conference.
The field house will be packed, that is for sure.
Definitely sure. At Waco, it's going to be crazy, but I'm hoping KU can get some dubs. And
I believe in the boys. They can do it. So we're trying to figure out this season. We don't know if we're going to call it Good Evening KU, Good Afternoon KU. So I don't really know how to feel about that.
I don't know. We're going to have to come up with a better name probably.
He's in charge of creating a new nickname for the show. So that's all we have for right now, but we are going to, after the break, come back for a Dole Fellow interview with our 2020 Dole Fellow, which will be interesting, and then we'll come back with a news update. That's all we have.
From adversity, we rose. We made history and became pioneers, voyagers, champions, Jayhawks. And when our chant rises, haunting and hallowed, Jayhawks are telling the world what's near. Victory.
Welcome back. I'm here with our first Dole Fellow of 2020, Ron Marks. Ron, thanks for being here.
I'm delighted, thank you.
So for some of our students who may not know, tell me a little bit, what is a Dole Fellow?
Well, this is interesting. It was built on the Dole Institute, which is essentially a memorial to Senator Robert Dole and his wife, Senator Elizabeth Dole, and their involvement in Washington politics, which took, almost over 50 years now. The fellowships really have tried to focus on issues in Washington or issues of the politics of the day. In my case, what they wanted to do was have someone come in and talk about intelligence, but also information in the 21st century and how it's being used and how it's being analyzed and how it's being presented to different kinds of policy people, whether or not it's a senator or a president or a chief executive officer. But again, the idea was to have, and in my case, we're going to do a 7-part series, bring different experts in from different parts of cyber world, which is a big world, and talk a little bit about what it looks like now that we're in the total information age.
So what people do you plan on bringing back? What do you have planned for us?
Well, I cage as many of my friends as possible. So Jen McLaughlin, who is the national security correspondent for Yahoo, will be coming back. Stephanie Pell, who is assistant professor with Army Cyber at West Point, will be coming to talk about how military is dealing with this world. In addition, I will have Roy Hartsfield, who actually worked for CIA up until very recently, and she was the head of human resources for their Digital Innovation Directorate, to talk a little bit about what they're looking for now in the American intelligence community, which is sort of part of this grand world, and what kind of skill set they're looking for from people now. Also, a friend of mine, Randy Fort, who was the Chief Intelligence Officer at U.S. State Department. He worked for Condoleezza Rice. And then a couple of other more senior guys who are senior analysts. both in the intelligence community and outside.
Okay.
Because one of the emphases on this is to make people understand that, you know, everybody talks about CIA for information and spying and all that.
Right.
But it's a big private sector area now, as well as the public sector.
Well, do you have anything else you'd like to add for our students?
Well, I would really, you know, I would really like to make the pitch, if you can, to come to these seminars. I think you're really going to have some. These are really not only interesting, and these are top-notch guys in their field. I mean, we'll have the chairman of the National Intelligence Council, their former chairman, Greg Treverton. Greg actually oversaw all of the analysis of the United States intelligence community, and he set up a think tank looking at how cyber world is affecting guys making decisions, both public and private sector. Because part of the problem right now is you're just awash in the stuff. You know, I've got an iPhone that's seemingly located about 10 feet away from me, with all kinds of apps on it and all kinds of information that I didn't have 10 years ago. You guys are going to be the first generation that are going to have to live with universal information. And that doesn't always lend itself well to decision making, in part because you can fool with the information, in part because it's selectivity of information, depending on what you're interested in. So Greg's going to be talking about that, and again, we talked about some of the other guys who are talking about different parts of, you know, of the private sector as well. Randy deals a lot with how a Raytheon Corporation, a major contractor, tries to support the U.S. government in terms of the kind of cyberspace issues. I mean, there are two parts of cyberspace. One is, so my friend Mike calls it pipes and water. You know, the water is the information, the pipes are the IT systems. As we all noticed in Iowa the other day, the pipes broke down, okay? The water was there, but the pipes broke down. How do you deal with that when you're dealing with sort of fast-moving events and decision-making that you need to make? So Stephanie will talk a little bit about how the United States military deals with it. Because the U.S. military is looking for total information domination in the field. Yeah. Because that's how they roll. That is their advantage. But they can be, so are the Russians, and so are the Chinese. And so Mark Lowenthal and the others are going to talk about how the Russians and Chinese are dealing with this, because we concentrate on non-nation state for a long time, you know, like ISIS and all that. Bad news is that the Russians, who I thought I had defeated, are back, big time. And it's a real leverage in terms of, it doesn't cost much to do this, but you can do a lot of damage. And if you don't think so, you'll notice that we're still talking about the 2016 election here, on what was essentially a pretty cheap operation on their part. So that's really covering the field. This is about information, this is about intelligence, this is about public sector, it's about private sector. I think it's a good broad spread, and I hope everybody has a chance to come. I mean, I always know how difficult it is. You're in the middle of the term, and you know, you're trying to get all your stuff done. It's Wednesday afternoons at 4 o'clock, I believe it is. It's over at the Dole Institute, which is on the other side of campus over here. And I really invite everybody to come. It's going to be very informal. I mean, I'm going to be sitting there pretty much like you and I are right now, sans the table. We're going to have chairs out there, and I encourage people to come and ask questions. This is not about hearing the beauties of my voice. This is about, you know, hearing the guests, but also hearing the questions that they want to ask.
Well, it sounds great. Ron, thank you so much for being here with us today.
You're entirely welcome. Delighted to do it.
We'll be right back after the break.
For students searching for a way to stay active in an outdoorsy way, the City of Lawrence has bike trails running in every direction, and with the new bike share program, we can stay in shape as we tour the sights of our beautiful city. Clinton Lake is only a short 30-minute bike ride away from Daisy Hill and has the most incredible sunset location in all of Lawrence. Walking campus may give you the KU calves, but biking can give you the KU thighs. Bike Lawrence today.
Good evening. My name is Layla.
And I'm Mackenzie. This is your Thursday Good Evening KU News Update. London police arrested a man this afternoon after he allegedly stabbed a man in his 70s at a Moscow near Regent Park. The victim was taken to a local hospital with non-life-threatening injuries.
Rapper Pop Smoke was fatally shot in a home in the Hollywood Hills early Wednesday morning. He was found with multiple gunshot wounds shortly before 5 a.m. At least 4 suspects fled the scene and have still not been found. He was 20 years old.
A player from the Cleveland Browns was arrested by the U.S. Border Patrol earlier this week for having 157 pounds of marijuana in his car. The U.S. Attorney for the Western District of Texas charged offense tackle Gregory Robinson and another man with possession and intent to distribute. If convicted, the pair face up to 20 years in federal prison.
Fellow Democratic candidates questioned and criticized Michael Bloomberg in his first debate since running for presidency. Last night, the 9th Democratic debate took place in Las Vegas, days before the Nevada caucuses. Elizabeth Warren questioned Bloomberg on his fortune and past accusations of sexism.
KU announced over 28 participants for the 2020 mentoring cycle for disability inclusion. According to the Kansan, the goal to provide is participants with knowledge, technical assistance, and expertise on disability inclusion and give them opportunities to enhance disability inclusion on campus. The group includes students and faculty members and will meet over 7 times during the spring semester to discuss a handful of topics.
In sports, the biggest game for the season for KU basketball will be on Saturday in Waco, Texas. The Jayhawks haven't lost since January 11th when they fell to Baylor in the Allen Fieldhouse. And now with 5 games left to play, the Bears lead the Big 12 Conference by 1. Tip-off is at 11 a.m. on ESPN.
The baseball and softball season are underway, although neither team has played at home so far. The baseball team won 2 out of 3 in Nashville against Belmont in their opening series and will be in South Carolina this weekend. The softball team has already played 10 games, but won just 2. The Lady Jayhawks are in Arlington, Texas this weekend for their 5-game series.
And that will wrap up today's news update. We don't have an atmospheric student on the crew yet, but according to the Weather Channel, the low tonight is going to be 15 degrees, but we should reach the upper 40s tomorrow and the mid-50s by Saturday.
Don't forget to join us every Thursday at 2 p.m. for the latest news and entertainment. Have a great day.